This is Marvelous Videos. I'm Grayson Ottaway. The Marvel Universe is home to many powerful beings, such as Thor, Hulk, and Captain America. However, there are some characters in the Marvel Universe that even rival the powers and the abilities of these iconic heroes. One such character is Gladiator. Now, for people who largely watch the movies, Gladiator may sound like a new character, but comic book fans will know that his character has been around since the 1970s. Gladiator has often been described as incredibly powerful, with some even saying he's simply too powerful for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, thus his absence from the movies. Well, here is all we know about the Gladiator. And before we go into everything about the Gladiator, a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to this channel. Small wee click for you, but for us, it means a great deal.
There is no way you can stop me.
Exploring the origins of Gladiator. Chris Claremont and illustrator Dave Cockrum are the minds behind the creation of Gladiator. Gladiator made his debut in the X-Men issue number 107 in October 1977. The character is notably similar to DC Comics' Superboy and Mon-El in several ways, including the nearly identical power sets they share, as well as their respective roles as heroic role models and captains of interplanetary teams, the Marvel Comics Imperial Guard and the DC Comics The Legion of Superheroes. His creation was also a tribute to DC's Superman from Marvel. In fact, he has a lot in common with the Man of Steel, since both their races, the Kryptonians and the Strontians, are highly similar when it comes to powers and abilities. He also wears a suit that pretty much looks like a rip-off of Superman's, and his name, Galactic, was derived from combining Superman's Kryptonian name, Kal-El, and his Earth name, Clark Kent. DC influences aside, Galactic hailed from the Strontian race, a strong race that had vowed allegiance to the Shi'ar kingdom after being saved from the Wraith plague by the then Emperor. They were a race that placed honor and duty above all else and were warriors to their very core. Hence, growing up, Galactic also imbibed the same sense of responsibility as the rest of his people. He was a bright young cadet fighter of a proud bloodline on his home planet, Strontia, and was expected to do great things, just like his ancestors. He worked hard and soon became a member of a select group of young people of his species who competed in a series of gladiator trials in order to have their psionic-fueled talents and superpowers raised to gladiator levels. The 10 cadets who had been promoted to gladiator status were told by the elders of the Strontians that only one of them could accept a seat in the elite Imperial Guards that Tekor, the Emperor of the Shi'ar, was trying to fill. Tekor wanted to see who would have complete loyalty to him, and at the same time the situation was such that he was also fearful of a Strontian rebellion, which he saw as a threat to his power and his authority. To kill two birds with one stone, the gladiators were given a final task by Tekor. However, this task was horrifying. Tekor ordered the gladiators to kill their council elders to determine whether or not their professed commitment to him was unquestionable, and to simultaneously wipe out anyone that could threaten his position. It turned out that Galactic was the only one who would follow the Majestor's orders, despite his disagreement with them, and performed his duties with diligence. This meant that he willingly killed the elders of his own race in cold blood and without remorse because, according to him, he was just following orders. He attacked his own people, killed the elders who raised him, and defeated his fellow gladiators when they failed in their task. After his return, Emperor Tekor appointed him as the head of the newly formed Gladiator Imperial Guards as a reward for his unwavering loyalty towards him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Galactic became Gladiator, the praetor of the Imperial Guard, a group of superhuman champions that guard and serve the Shi'ar Cosmic King. When Gladiator fought the X-Men, his first confrontation with the X-Men occurred when the Shi'ar Emperor's former tyrant, the insane Emperor Deacon, ordered the Imperial Guard to battle them. In this story arc, Gladiator serves the Emperor without asking any questions, as is his nature. He also comes into contact with the X-Men, as is seen in the X-Men animated series episode as well. This story arc is set during a civil war in the Shi'ar Empire, and when the Makran crystal is finally located, Emperor Deacon falls into it, rendering him catatonic as the experience drives him insane. This is when Lilandra finally ascends to the throne and becomes Empress of the Shi'ar Kingdom, and Gladiator begins to serve her instead. After becoming Empress, Lilandra deemed the Dark Phoenix and consequently Jean Grey as a major threat to the entire universe and ordered her Imperial army to destroy her. This led to another face-off with the X-Men, and he engaged the X-Men in battle once again over Jean Grey's fate when she became the Dark Phoenix after being possessed by the Phoenix Force. He easily took on Storm, Wolverine, and even Colossus and won. However, he was no match for the Dark Phoenix and was defeated and rendered unconscious before the Dark Phoenix seemingly committed suicide. He also returned to Earth to seek assistance from the X-Men in fighting the Phalanx on another occasion, and when he did so, he was met with anger by the X-Men team member and New Mutant Cannonball. Kellark's violent arrival led Cannonball, the otherwise polite and well-mannered Sam Guthrie, to attack the alien Gladiator. He knew that the alien had faced the Fantastic Four alone and won, but he leaped into combat against Gladiator. While Gladiator rapidly showed off his superior skills during the fight, Cannonball regularly stunned the alien superhuman with his cunning and strategic choices, which reflected his growing self-assurance in his own skills. Cannonball managed to deflect Gladiator's super punch's kinetic energy into his blast field, shocking the alien powerhouse one final time as he prepared to conclude the fight with a super punch of his own. Gladiator was justifiably alarmed to see Cannonball unmoved by one of his most potent punches, which allowed Cannonball's fist, boosted by a blast field, to knock Gladiator out and finish the bout. This was definitely an exciting encounter, and Cannonball would later go on to serve in the Imperial Army under Gladiator. However, his most intense fight with the X-Men took place when Cassandra Nova, Charles Xavier's evil sibling, showed up. In this storyline, Gladiator was made to clash with the mutants under direct orders from Empress Lilandra and then Majestrix of the Shi'ar Imperium. Gladiator recognized that something was amiss because he had never seen his friend and Empress Lilandra act this way. However, he complied with her orders by attempting to destroy the X-Men mansion, the location with the greatest concentration of mutants, even though he was unaware that she was under the influence of Cassandra Nova, the mutant sister of Charles Xavier. Unfortunately, Wolverine and the Beast were defeated during this attack, which was also evidence of the sheer power that Gladiator had. Gladiator was then confronted by one of the other guardsmen, Smasher, who was able to convince him of the true threat, Cassandra Nova, and that his friend, Empress Lilandra, was under her control. When Gladiator learned what had transpired, he apologized to Wolverine and Beast and begged them for assistance in freeing Lilandra, showing that he was actually not a villain. His last encounter with members of the X-Men team ended in an all-round disaster. To stop the Phoenix Five, Gladiator and his squadron of Shi'ar cruisers had arrived on Earth. However, because the Phoenix Five were at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning, the implications for Gladiator were even more significant. During this story arc, he battled Cyclops, Namor, and Colossus, with Warbird's support to defend his son, Kid Gladiator. Gladiator, however, found it challenging to combat one mutant, let alone three of them, due to the Phoenix Force's power coursing through their blood. Gladiator was beaten and demolished by Colossus and Namor until he was permanently eliminated from the fight by a strong optic blast from Cyclops. Warbird carried his nearly dead body to the medical ward so that it could receive emergency care. Whilst Gladiator didn't die, he did thus suffer a crushing defeat at the hands of the mutants.
Gladiator.
Some of his other prominent comic book story arcs. Gladiator has been featured in multiple story arcs over the years, many of them because he is an important character as the Praetor of the Imperial Guard. During his years as the Praetor, he served many emperors such as Vulcan, Lilandra, and Deacon. Here are 5 of the most notable story arcs about Gladiator. Number 1. Vulcan's ascension to the throne. On board a Shi'ar war aircraft in the Shi'ar Empire's interior, Gladiator and his Imperial Guards met the human mutant Gabriel Summers, nicknamed Vulcan, for the first time. His guards, however, were not ready to confront the rage of Vulcan, as the youngest and most formidable of the Summers brothers soon wiped off a number of the Imperial Guards, leaving many with life-threatening injuries. Despite being able to hold his own against the assembled troops, Vulcan was ultimately vanquished by Galactic, who was also critically injured. Later, Vulcan wed Kelsey Neramani, also known as Deathbird, and it was at this wedding that Gladiator again encountered Vulcan. After killing the Shi'ar Emperor, Deacon became Emperor Vulcan and assumed the throne. Even though Gladiator was all about serving the Shi'ar throne and following orders, he was taken aback by Vulcan's actions. Thus, before acting on Vulcan's orders, Galactic spoke with the new Empress, but he nevertheless did follow Vulcan's orders. Emperor Vulcan was thus served by the Imperial Guard and Gladiator, but they did so reluctantly. If he had not been the Emperor, they would have killed him since they despised him. This unwillingness was clearly seen when Gladiator refused to take a position on anything and only confronted the adversary when he was directed to do so. It was during this time that Galactic fought the Skyar Tal, a formidable advanced race trained in the art of war. He defeated the eldest of the Skyar Tal with the help of Havoc and Vulcan, and was at the helm of the Imperial Guard when they announced that the Imperial Guard had a single mandate: the expansion of the Shi'ar Empire. He was also tasked with destroying the Starjammers and finding Princess Lilandra by Vulcan during this time. Number 2. Rising up against Vulcan. Gladiator spearheaded the assault on the Inhumans while working for the Shi'ar Empire's Imperial Guard under Emperor Vulcan. Gladiator and the Imperial Guard ambushed them as Crystal of the Inhuman royal family was ready to wed Ronan the Accuser in an effort to reunite the Inhumans with the Kree. With some assistance from White Noise, Gladiator fought Black Bolt and was able to defeat him. Princess Lilandra, who was accompanying the Kree and Inhumans, was also taken prisoner by the Imperial Guard. While attempting to assist Crystal, Ronan too was defeated. Gladiator and the Imperial Guard engaged the new group of Nova Centurions after having seized Lilandra. When his cousin Zenith arrived, the Centurions were soon vanquished. She told him that the Emperor had told him to go back and hand Princess Lilandra over to him. At this point, Gladiator displays intense internal turmoil and tries to figure out how to balance doing his job for the Emperor, whom he genuinely despises, and keeping Lilandra safe from the Emperor's fury. Finally, he betrays Vulcan when he is ordered to execute Lilandra. Galactic takes a decision and turns against his own guards. He establishes that he is Lilandra's fiercest defender as she attempts to retake her imperial throne, helping every step of the way. When the Shi'ar Death Commandos attack Lilandra as she attempts to establish her authority by appearing before the temple, he stands up for her. He eliminates a few of them, but learns too late that they are really decoys. He turns to discover that Lilandra has been shot to death by a covert assassin, and he sobs as he holds her presumably lifeless corpse in his arms. His grief turns into rage, and he attacks everyone around him, tearing his opponents and enemies apart. He also kills important people of the Shi'ar Empire, such as Chancellor Araki. Number 3. Becoming King. The story arc follows Princess Lilandra's death. Galactic grabs the Imperial scepter and leaves the temple in a trance, remaining in a state of sorrow and despair over the pointless deaths occurring all around him and still mourning the loss of Lilandra. As Galactic wearily observes the turmoil brought on by Lilandra's death, the city and the majority of the throne world are still in the throes of tearing themselves apart. When the populace sees Galactic wielding wielding the scepter, they turn to him and address him as Magister while pleading for direction. Thus, Galactic realizes that he has to step up to the mantle. Therefore, after stepping down from his previous position as Magister of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, Galactic assumed control of the Shi'ar Empire. While it was initially challenging for Galactic to adapt to life as a king rather than a member of the universe's most skilled combat army, he managed to do so with the fortitude and the bravery of a genuine leader. The war comes to an end, and Kree and the Inhumans are ultimately crowned as the victor. Gladiator is permitted to lead the Shi'ar, but only as Queen Medusa of the Inhumans' subordinate. This result is accepted by Galactic, the dullness of political rule, as opposed to the action of commanding the Imperial Guard, is something that continues to make him unhappy with his new position. Number 4. Gladiator and the Annihilators. In this story arc, Cosmo enlists Gladiator, together with some of the most powerful beings in the cosmos, to launch a major offensive against the growing Cancerverse evil, which is the real threat posed by the Fault. They want to eradicate death and fill the cosmos with unending, cancerous life similar to their own, under the direction of the perverted Lord Mar-Vell of that universe. These Annihilators went on to confront Mar-Vell and his tainted revengers. The squad decided to stick together to stop any further threats to the galaxy after Mar-Vell's demise and the obliteration of the Cancerverse. The squad was greeted by the Space Knight Icon, who brought them to Galaditor to confront the dire Wraith's resurgent menace. The Universal Church of Truth and the wicked Magus's reappearance constituted their next threat. Gladiator unwittingly provided the Magus with a vessel to possess while attempting to fight their belief energy with his own Strontian belief power. The fact that the crew was able to defeat the possessed Gladiator and have him survive their attack is proof of both the character's remarkable invulnerability and his tenacity. Number 5. Asgard vs. Shi'ar, a mighty battle. This is easily one of the coolest stories Galactic has featured in. In this story arc, the Shi'ar gods, Kai-3 and Shara, believed that in order to demonstrate their dominance to the new Thor, they had to have her participate in a challenge to the gods. To capture her, they dispatched Gladiator and other Imperial guards to Asgard. Gladiator and the Imperial Guard engaged the other Asgardians in battle, but were ultimately defeated when the people of Asgard were motivated by the new Thor to take on the unjust gods. On the flip side, the Shi'ar gods had caused their people much pain, and this led them to reject their gods during the subsequent challenge of the gods. In a terrible twist of fate, the Shi'ar gods released the Phoenix Force on the creation as a result of their defeat in the contest. Gladiator, however, did not support the Shi'ar gods this time, and he defeated them using his immense power. Then, with the aid of Quentin Quire, who momentarily took over as Shi'ar's new god, he assisted the Asgardians in placating the Phoenix and saving everyone that was at risk. These are just a few of the major storylines that Gladiator has been involved in. Usually, whenever there is mention of the Shi'ar Empire, there is also mention of the brave Gladiator in the same breath. Gladiator featured in an episode of X-Men, the animated series. Gladiator showed up in the episode titled Phoenix Saga Part 3, The Cry of the Banshee. The story revolves around the Shi'ar Emperor Deacon Nerimani's quest for his sister, Lilandra, and the Mikran Crystal, a mighty powerful pink crystal from a long-lost planet. The episode opens with Moira McTaggart and Banshee on Muir Island, when they suddenly see that Professor X's room is on fire. Inside, Lilandra, Nerimani, and Xavier are battling Juggernaut. However, Juggernaut isn't working alone and has backup in the form of Black Tom. Before Black Tom breaks into the room and shoots his half-brother with his pimp cane, Xavier is able to assault him physically. However, that clearly is not enough to stop the mighty Juggernaut, then throws Xavier out the window while claiming that he and Juggernaut are there to take Lilandra and will apparently be handsomely rewarded if they succeed in their mission. happen. Charles, unable to tether himself to safety, falls off the edge of the cliff, but thankfully, before he can plummet into the deep waters below, Banshee swoops in and catches him, flying him to safety. Xavier is then taken for treatment, where he makes a full recovery. Later, while Cyclops is waiting at the hospital where Jean Grey is being treated, Xavier tries to convince Moira and Banshee that Lilandra is real and she came to him from the depths of space to ask for his help. They do not believe Xavier and think that he is simply losing his mind. To assist him in finding Lilandra, Xavier invites the X-Men to visit Muir Island. In the meanwhile, Juggernaut and Black Tom encounter Eric the Red in Ireland, who gives them money in exchange for taking Lilandra and then proceeds to torture her. The X-Men make their way to Muir Island under directions from Xavier, and once they get to Muir Island, they run upon Moira and the Banshee. Xavier is able to establish psychic contact with Lilandra, who shows him the Cassidy family crest, which alerts Xavier of her location. He passes on the information to the X-Men, who then rush to find her. When the X-Men and Banshee reach Cassidy's keep in Ireland to save Lilandra, they start a battle against Black Tom, Juggernaut, and Eric, who refuse to let their prisoner go without a fight. Once Lilandra has been set free and the fight has been moved to the rooftop, Gladiator shows up. This makes perfect sense, since as the leader of the Imperial Guard, he works for the Shi'ar Emperor, who is also Lilandra's brother. He informs the X-Men and Lilandra that he has come to Earth to take Lilandra back to her brother. However, Lilandra refuses to go. He further berates Eric the Red for his incompetence, since he was unsuccessful in locating the M'Kraan crystal and in capturing Lilandra. They've been tasked to carry out both these missions and to present both Lilandra and the crystal to the Shi'ar Emperor. It was due to their failure that Gladiator had to come to Earth. During this time, Juggernaut decides to interfere and tries to attack Gladiator. However, in a spectacular show of strength, he punches Juggernaut over the Atlantic with astounding ease. He then tries to take Lilandra back to the Emperor. However, Lilandra connects with Xavier once more, and an unconscious Jean wakes up, hearing Xavier's cry for help. She rushes all the way to Cassidy Keep to save Lilandra and save the universe. Gladiator, unaware of the power of the Phoenix, challenges Jean, who effortlessly launches Gladiator back up into space, telling him to go and serve a worthy master instead of the power-hungry Shi'ar Emperor. Thus, this episode shows both Gladiator's strengths and his weaknesses. How powerful is Gladiator in comparison to some of the other superheroes? Gladiator is a Strontian, and as we already know, Strontians have numerous physical characteristics that are superior to those of the human species. They also live very long lives. In addition, Galactic endured the Gladiator ritual in order to be chosen as the Strontian race's Imperial Guard representative. Gladiator is thus one of the most formidable characters in the history of his race, as well as one of the most physically tough characters in the Marvel Universe, because he is the last member of his race and the last Strontian to have gone through the process. Gladiator has demonstrated to be an expert in hand-to-hand fighting and has repeatedly proven to be one of the most proficient fighters in the entire Shi'ar Empire. Gladiator has been observed in the past instructing members of the Shi'ar Empire's Imperial Guard and other guards who work closely with the Emperor, demonstrating that he is a very capable fighter of the highest degree. One of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe, Galactic is known for having superhuman strength. The extent of his strength is unclear, however. He has so far been seen pulling off impressive feats, like effortlessly outmuscling the likes of Colossus, Wonder Man, and The Thing, and outmuscling Thor in terms of raw strength. The most noteworthy thing here, though, is that the strength of a gladiator is based on his self-confidence. Few characters in the Marvel Universe can equal Gladiator's strength when he completely trusts in himself and his talents. However, if he has any reservations about his talents, his strength will suffer greatly. Gladiator has a special physiology that gives him a tremendous amount of stamina. Gladiator can exhaust himself at his physical maximum for several days before tiredness poison starts to affect him. Gladiator has spent a lot of time in deep space, and it's clear from those missions that he he's capable of going for very extended periods without needing to eat, to sleep, or to breathe. He finds this to be very useful for intergalactic travel. Gladiator also has the fastest recorded flight speed of any character, measuring at 100 times the speed of light. However, superhuman speed is not the only power he possesses. Gladiators have exceptional movement, balance, and bodily coordination that are unmatched by humans thanks to their unique physiology. Gladiator has reflexes that are far stronger than anything of any regular human due to his physiology. He can fly across space at 100 times the speed of light, even in hyperspace, dodging comets, planets, and other astronomical objects. Thanks to a highly developed and dense musculature in comparison to humans, the Gladiator's physiology bestows upon him the capacity of invulnerability. He is capable of surviving in space alone, withstanding energy bolts with little damage, falling from vast heights, fighting characters like Black Bolt, Thor, and even the Hulk without suffering any injuries. Gladiator's invulnerability also enables him to live comfortably inside a sun's core. Gladiator has also, on one occasion, endured and lived through the negative impacts of a supernova. Further, he also has 5 specific powers: heat vision, flight, telepathy resistance, microscopic vision, and freeze breath. Starting with heat vision, Gladiator is capable of projecting strong heat beams from his eyes. Although his heat beam's highest temperature has never been determined, they have proven to be just as potent as a star's core. Gladiator's heat vision was so potent that when he pointed it at the Hulk in a fit of wrath, it started to burn away at Hulk's skin from the inside out. His self-assurance determines the heat beam's temperature and the level of force. Gladiator's beams lose a large amount of force if he has self-doubt about his skills. Gladiator possesses the psionic power to resist gravity, allowing him to fly. When covering great distances, he may fly way faster than the speed of light and enter hyperspace. Gladiator has demonstrated the capacity to use his flight in space's vacuum as well. Gladiator is also capable of both seeing items clearly at great distances and dissecting them down to their atomic level thanks to his microscopic vision. However, it is unknown if Gladiator has the capacity to see through barriers. Gladiator's physiological makeup enables him to take in massive volumes of air and expel it with a hurricane-like intensity. Additionally, he has demonstrated the capacity to lower his opponent's body temperatures by exhaling the infamous freeze breath, which is a powerful, chilled gust of wind. Last but not least, Gladiator has proven to possess powerful psychic barriers that shield his mind from telepathic intrusions. However, he is still vulnerable to assaults from telepaths of a high degree because these defenses are unable to fend off all telepaths. Is Gladiator a bit too powerful for the MCU? We know the long list of powers that Gladiator possesses, however, it is important to understand the true extent of his powers. This being has literally destroyed stars and planets with a single punch. Only looking at his physical capabilities, he seems to be powerful beyond compare. In fact, he has even completely obliterated Vulcan, which shows just how insanely strong he is. Now, because all of his powers depend upon how he is feeling about himself that day, on a good day, Gladiator would simply be unbeatable. The more his confidence increases, the more powerful he gets, and there is simply no stopping him. This is precisely why he is considered to be too powerful for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, a fight against him simply would be no fun, knowing that he was all-powerful and his strength would only increase with each blow that he landed. However, there is also a flip side to his power. Since his confidence directly affects many of his skills, Gladiator's degree of strength, invulnerability, speed, and heat vision significantly decrease when he has self-doubts about his skills. In fact, this duality of his power might make for some awesome fight sequences if Gladiator was to be included in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Although for someone that has been fighting as the leader of the Imperial Guard, and who has even ruled over the Shi'ar Empire, confidence shouldn't be an issue for him. It is thus evident that Gladiator is incredibly strong and has fought many members of the Marvel Universe and defeated big shots like Hulk and even Thor on occasion. I, and no doubt you, would love to see Gladiator on the big screen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Or is his unlimited power off-putting for us viewers? Please do tell us in the comments below. If you like our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and please be safe.